Welcome to Vision Class and welcome to this Center for Mathematics on Complex Numbers. We are now looking at multiplication of complex numbers and we have reached as far as example 4. Example 4 says that you are given Z1, Z2, Z3 and they're asking you to find Z1, Z2. If they say Z1, Z2, that means it is Z1 times Z2. So the solution to this is, for part A, which says that Z1, Z2, this is the same as Z1 times Z2. But in most cases, they don't put times in that format. Why? Because there is a concept in mathematics and it is very common in additional mathematics that this one is cross. This is the same as Z1 cross Z2. And that always has a different implication from multiplication. So in most cases, they just say Z1, Z2. So Z1, Z2 means Z1 times Z2. So we are simply going to substitute for what is Z1? Z1 is 4 minus I. Open the bracket, 4 minus I. We are putting the bracket simply because there are two terms. Times, open the second bracket of Z2. What is Z2? Z2 is simply 2 plus 6I. That is the first step of substituting for Z1 and Z2. After this step, then you go to multiplication of brackets. And in multiplication of two or more brackets, every term in one bracket has to multiply any other term in any other bracket. But here we have two brackets. So let's start with 4. 4 times 2, it is 8. Again, 4 times 6i, both are positive, to give us here 24i. Now you have seen that 4 has multiplied 2 and it has also multiplied 6i. Now it is done. Then you come to I. But this one carries a negative sign because we said that the sign before any number is the sign of that number or that term. So negative I times 2, that would give us negative 2i. Again, negative I times 6i. 6i here is positive. So negative times positive is negative. This I here has a coefficient of 1. 1 times 6 is 6. What is I times I? That is I squared. So after that step, but we know that from Euler's property, I squared equals to a negative 1. So we shall substitute for that so that we have 8. What is 24i minus 2i? That is simply 22i minus 6. But what is I squared? I squared is negative 1. This gives us 8 plus 22i plus 6. Negative 6 times negative 1 is positive 6. What is 6 plus 8? It gives us 14. It is positive 14 plus 22i. This is the solution for part A that says Z1, Z2. Going to part B, you may pause the video and try it out, then you replay and check if you are correct. Z2 times Z3. Simply we are going to substitute for what is Z2. Z2 is 2 plus 6i. So you open the bracket because there are two terms, then you say it is 2 plus 6i. But you are multiplying it by Z3. What is Z3? Since there are two terms again, they are 1 minus 3i. And then you go to that concept that every term in the first bracket has to multiply each of the terms in the second bracket. So 2 times 1, it is 2. Again, this 2 times negative 3i, because this sign is for 3. That will give us negative 6i. Now 2 has multiplied these two terms. And then you go to 6i, which is positive. 6i times 1, it is going to give us positive 6i. Again, 6i, which is positive, times negative 3i. First of all, positive times negative is negative. 6 times 3 is 18. I times I is I squared. But we still keep in mind that I squared equals to -1. So when we continue here, we shall have 2. What is -6 plus 6? That is 0. That is 0. So here we shall just have a minus 18, but we are substituting for I squared as -1. This gives us 2 plus 18. -18 times -1 is positive 18. And if you add it to 2, you get positive 20. So that is the solution to part B. And without wasting time, let's go to part C. And part C will be of no difference. It is just Z1 times Z3. So we are simply going to substitute for what is Z1? It is 4 minus I. So we say here 4 minus I times what is Z3? Z3 is 1 minus 3I. So I'll put here 1 minus 3I. And then on proceeding, I will say what is 4 times 1? Both are positive. That gives us 4. Again, what is 4 times -3I? It will give us negative 12I. 4 has multiplied each of the terms in the second bracket. Then we go to -I. What is -I times 1? It is simply -I. What is -I times -3I? Negative times negative, that is positive. We say there is a coefficient of 1 here. That is a natural 1 on this I. So 1 times 3 is 3. I times I is I squared. But we know that I squared is always -1. So on further simplification, we shall have 4 minus what is negative. Don't put the sign before you operate any given terms that you are trying to simplify. What is -12I minus I? It gives us -13I. So you can put the sign here as minus. And then plus 3. What is I squared? That is simply -1. So you should have 4 minus 13 minus 3. This is 13I. What is 4 minus 3? That is 1. So here we shall have 1 minus 13I. And this is the solution to part C. And this is the general solution to example 4 on multiplication of complex numbers. Thank you.